Hello and good morning, and welcome to the newest episode of Borderline Podcast Disorder. Um, Sorry for being a bit late with getting the episode out. It's been a busy week. I've been. Um, it's been my birthday. It was my birthday during the week, and we did a couple of me and my partner. We did a couple of, I guess activities for the birthday, and it was also uni was very busy, and my other part-time day job. It's been, I feel like every single day something has happened. Um, so yeah, sorry about that. But although I feel tired, and as I record this, or as I record it, as I finish editing this and putting it together to post it, I am going to go to the gym before I go to work. Yeah, trying to make the most of it, And what was I going to say? Yes, it's been a good busy week. Last week, turned 28. It's been quite nice. Very grateful of my partner. Very grateful of my kitties. One of them, it's disturbing me a little bit while I'm trying to record now, but it's okay. She's doing it for the right reasons. She wants to get pets, and that's okay because there are loads of pets that I am looking forward to give her. Um, it's been a it's been a nice week. I could, yeah, things that even like outside of my day to day life. Although I'm a bit stressed with the last exam for university for the year. Um, yeah, it's been great. The Knicks beat the Boston Celtics. Um, what else happened? Quite emotional. One of my favorite players in Romanian football history, Cristi Saponaro, is about to have his last match on the 19th of May. Or is it last home match? I think it's his last home match. Yeah, so that's quite emotional for me because I grew up watching the man, and he's still playing. Like I remember him from, oh god, 20 years ago. Yeah, over 21 years ago, and he's still a professional. Then we've got, AS Roma winning against AC Milan. Last game at home for Claudio Ranieri. Amazing. I love AS Roma. I love the stadium. Um, I've never cried at a football match before, or like at a football location. And then I went to Stadio Olimpico, and I cry like a girl almost every time I go. What else? Oh yeah, the elections in Romania happened. Eventually, for the third. Oh my god, that's like the third time. Well, technically the fourth, because um, yeah, fourth election for a president in what 6 months. But now we got one, and I was quite surprised. I didn't think the man who won um, would win. But I don't know. I wouldn't say even that I'm glad he won. I voted for him, you know, because he felt like the least worst option. But yeah, I don't know. I just in one hand, I'm very hopeful, and I feel like yeah, it felt quite good. But in the other hand, I'm not. I'm a bit fed up, So I'm kind of like, let's just hope he proves me wrong in regards to the things that I'm not necessarily a believer that are going to change. So yeah, let's see how that goes. But what I was going to tell you is that this week's episode is a great one. I recorded with Claudine, wonderful person, and you'll see that even when I was listening to her, at times she just draws you in with the way she speaks. It's amazing. and the conversation was great. And I think it kind of goes hand in hand with, oh yeah, of course, it was the Mental Health Awareness Week in the UK. But again, when you listen to this podcast, you have to treat every, or like I would like for you to treat every single episode as the Mental Health Awareness Day, week, month, year, whatever you think. Well, obviously, think about it and try to, help yourself first, and then help someone around you. But coming back to the Claudine's episode, yeah, the episode was great, and I think I might have said it actually during the recording. I can't remember if I did, or if it was right after. But I said something like, I'm right after our conversation. I was like, okay, I need to send a couple more emails. I want to push a bit more. I already know what to do next, and I want to do it right now because it felt great listening to Claudine and being like, oh yeah, you know what? You're right. That's a good point. And you'll see what I mean when you listen to the episode. You know what? I think I'm going to keep this, I'm going to wrap this up here, and I'm going to let you enjoy the episode. Yeah, that's it. Enjoy, and I'll catch you before we wrap it up. Thank you. Okay, so Claudine, how are you?
Livy, I am great today.
Really?
Yeah, I have come from like a thriving. It's like called it's a thriving women's circle, and basically it's like a mastermind where we all meet and we just like share our brilliance. So I'm pumped. I'm going to be like your best podcast guest ever.
Perfect. That's what I was looking for. That's what I was actually hoping.
Well, you've got her. She's here.
Amazing. But then, so how regularly do you have those meetings?
So once a week.
No way.
Once a week. And this was like, it's usually virtual, but this was in person. So this was so nice to like get together and just like meet with people who are funnier, more intelligent, greater than I am. Because it just, yeah, it's so empowering to be in a room with like women who are, and not only women. I mean, in my particular circle that I run, it's not only women, but how incredible to be in a room with people who are so much better at you at so many things, and just be like, wow, I've got a lot to learn here. So it's very empowering. I've come into today pumped, my friend.
That's good. And how did you get into this? Like, are you organizing these events, or how did you get into this community in the first place? And what's it called, by the way? Sorry, just to.
So this community is, it's called Thrive, but I am starting my own community because I've been so inspired and empowered by it. I have come, you and I are both foreigners, and I have come to this country going, I need to cut ties with South Africa. I need to cut ties because all of my work, everything I'm dependent on is in South Africa. So I need to build a new tribe in a new town. So I've been networking hard and just been going to network events. And then I was like, wait, I have so many people in my community here who are comedians, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, people who are the face of their brand and who need a community where they can run their face or their brand or their business as a business.
I see.
I am starting a community where solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, comedians can get together and just mastermind and say what's working, what's not working. Because for way too long, Levy, I don't know how it is with you, but for way too long, I was a struggling comedian earning no money. And you'd get money when you get a big gig and you perform to thousands of people or you do a television thing. But in between, it's feast and famine.
Yeah.
It's feast and famine. And can I tell you my origin story?
Yes, please, because I was actually gonna ask you, but yes, please.
No, I'm hosting myself here.
No, please give us an introduction.
So, about 16 years ago, however long ago it was, I had finished university. I went to drama school because I had bought into the lie, like so many of us, that if I go to university, I will have stability. I'll have a stable job. And what happens? You come out of a drama school and you know how to perform your heart out, but you don't know how to turn yourself into a business, right? So I took my CV, and my CV had 2 little lines on it because they told us you can't get an agent until you have finished 4th year, which is the most ridiculous thing to me in the world, because you should be spending those university years failing and trying and pushing. Anyway, I take my little CV with my 2 lines to the top agent in South Africa. He takes one look at me, doesn't even look at the CV, and says, "Claudine, you're too large to be in the industry." Now, I don't know if you have ever been looked directly in the eye, yet felt completely unseen, but in that moment, I did. And I was absolutely broken because I had put my faith, my trust, my worthiness into somebody else's hands. And while I was curled up in a ball, suffering, crying, going, "I'm never going to make it. I've got to look at other options. What do I have to do?" I was like, I had a vision board. And on my vision board, there was a picture of Amy Poehler. And Amy Poehler, who is, for those of you who have been living under a rock, who are listening, not know who Amy Poehler is. She is one of the world's greatest improvisers. And underneath a picture of her, I had one of her sayings where she says, "Improv is like the military. We leave no man behind." And I was feeling exceptionally left behind by an industry that promised me that I would get in by talent, and the talent would be enough. Not what I looked like, and, not based on that. So I had a moment, like a brain explosion, when I saw this, and I was like, I have to do whatever it takes to become so good at improv that they can't ignore me. So I was broke as a joke and ready to choke, and I applied for every single funding application that I could in South Africa, and eventually I got the funding, and it was more money than I'd ever seen with my eyeballs, and I took that money and I spent as long as I could in New York, LA, and Chicago studying every single class, course, workshop that I could around comedy, improv comedy, stand-up comedy, clowning. And while I was there, I had 2 major ahas. Aha number 1, mind blown. I looked around the class and I saw that there was Pete, who was in accounting. And I saw that there was Joel, who was a lawyer. And I was like, wait a moment. People are here not to get good at improv. People are here to use comedy to get good at life. Bada bing, bada bong. I was like, oh, I need to get good at life using comedy, not good at improv, or not good at stand-up, or not good. Change. Major mind blown. Okay. Second aha I had was I was like, nothing like this exists in South Africa. Nay, nothing like this exists in Africa. So I'm going to come back to Africa, and I am going to start the first improv comedy training company at scale for Africa. And so Jittery Citizens was born. And you know what? Since in my 15 years of working as a professional comedian and a coach and running Jittery Citizens, I've worked with Fortune 500 companies. I've worked with top global celebrities. And I've even trained almost all of the actors in the agency that the agent rejected me. Now, I don't say this to impress you. I say this to impress upon you what is possible when you find your voice and your calling and you decide to go all in on you and not try to go all in on the industry. So I was a totally shit comic until I leaned into Claudine's style of comic. Then I became a great comic. I stood out. I became outstanding because no one can do me the way I do me, and no one can do you the way you can do you. So I needed to go through all of this to realize that the point of comedy is to get good at your style, your voice of comedy, not to get good at the actual thing. Don't get good at stand-up. Get good at Levy doing stand-up. You know? So that is a very long spiel. But it's basically, I now have moved to London. And as I said, I'm starting a new tribe in a new town, and I'm starting over again, and it is scary, and I've gone through the motions and failure and all of this. And I was like, wait, I have frameworks that I've shared with billion-dollar brands to help make these billion-dollar brands hilarious. Why don't I just use that for my own company and build again and start again? And while I'm doing that, why don't I share that with the rest of the world? So entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, comedians who want to start with me and also become so good at you that you can't be ignored. So that is the dream, the mission, the vision, the goal. And it's a journey. It's a journey.
Of course, and I mean, it sounds like it's not just a journey, but like there is a lot of things that I was picking up on what you said, and one of them is this whole idea of, well, not the whole idea. I'm actually curious to ask you about how were you always this, perhaps, I don't even know if I can say, like, is it courageous or just like so open-minded and so like, pushy, but like this like, again, in a courageous way where you're like, you know what, it's almost like if you can't find it, I'm gonna make it, sort of, if I can't find what I want, I'm gonna make the thing that I want. Because then it sounds like you're doing that when also another question. Well, anyway, I'll ask you after, but not for now. Because then you again, now you're trying to you finished, you graduated, and you're like, okay, it's time for me to get a job. And then the agency guy goes like, no. And then you're like, okay, well, now I have to apply for, again, like, now what now? And then you go, okay, I'll apply for those grants. I'm going to be the best at, I'm going to try to go in the best places to learn the best techniques. Then you're going to those places, then almost sounds, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like then you're like, oh, actually, it's not about besting this, it's more about besting myself at this. It's like being the best Claudine, the entertainer, the comedian, right? And then now you're like, oh, okay, now I have to put this into, or like, how do I put this into something that I can say, again, like make a living of, make a life of, make a living of, make a life of. And then now on top of that, you're like, oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to change continents now. Are you
Yes.
like how have you always been like this, or like where do you get almost this like sort of energy, or how long does it take you to reach these sort of like, levels of and energy and endurance and courage.
So you know where the energy, the endurance, and the courage comes from? Failure. Have you ever done clowning
No,
or improv?
no, actually, no. I think I've done one improv class. That's it.
No, Levy, I'm going to shout at you. I'm absolutely going to shout at you. Okay, so you've done one, you'll do more, okay? That is your challenge in this podcast, is by the end, we're going to be like, what are we signing you up for, my friend? The beautiful thing about learning clowning in particular and improv is you are on stage in real time, no script, and you are failing constantly, all the time. When is Charlie Chaplin the funniest? When he fails.
When he fails, yeah, when he gets hurt or
On a banana peel. He gets hit over the head with a frying pan. That failure is hilarious, right? So as a clown, you're learning to get up on stage. And when I talk about clown, people are like, what do you mean? I'm talking about red-nosed clown. When you study it as an art. And this is why it's the most fantastic application for business. You know, when I go into businesses and teach clowning and teach failure, it is power. Because you are sitting in that failure, you're on stage, you have to sit in the awkward, in the pain, in the no laughter, and do whatever it takes to get yourself to climb out of that space until you get the laughs. And the being able to sit in the awkward and climb and crawl your way out of that pain, that makes you resilient. There is nothing like it. So if you said to me, what makes me so determined is my ability to fail big, fail fast, and move on. And to see that failure, reframe that failure for myself as an opportunity. I want to tell you, can I tell you a story?
Of course, please.
About reframing opportunities, failure as opportunity. So when I first started stand-up comedy, Trevor Noah had already gone to do The Daily Show, and he was coming back to South Africa to choose 10 up-and-coming comedians to be chosen to perform 15 minutes of comedy on Showmax, which is like Netflix, basically, in South Africa. And I was not chosen as one of the comedians. And I was broken. I mean, literally in a ball, crying. I am never going to be good enough. I look back, and I thank you. Thank you, universe. I was not chosen. I didn't know my voice. I hadn't found my voice. If that stuff was out on the interwebs, and there is stuff there that is out on the interwebs of me doing early stand-up, I want to cringe. It's so bad. So I actually, the way I look at failure now is through a 3-step framework that I've designed. Can I share that framework with you?
Absolutely.
Let me share the framework with you. So number 1 in the framework, in the failure framework, is to recognize and sit in the pain. I'm in the pain. This is awkward. It's the clown on stage. No one is laughing. I feel like shit. Okay? To sit there, to recognize it. Once you've recognized it, I want you to say a line to yourself. And that line is, if I was whole and complete and perfect as I am in this moment, how would I respond? And from that place of being whole, perfect, knowing everything is working out for your greatest good, you respond then. Okay? And that is the only time you respond, from your higher self, from your greater self, from the clown version of you. Okay? Step 2 in the process is a failure CV. So basically, I have a template which you are all more than welcome to download at claudineullman.com. And that failure CV, I want you to update that CV like it was the CV for your dream job. And on that failure CV, you put every single failure you can remember that affected you, that held you back, any setback that you can remember. And you're going to put the lesson that you learned and the door that it opened. Okay? Step 3 is create a portfolio of brilliance. What I mean by that, go on the internet, see every single review where someone said, Levy, you are the hottest shit around. Your comedy is hilarious. You are brilliant. You worked for this corporate. You opened for this client. You performed on this stage. Anything that where you felt ignited, where you felt the most free, where you felt that you were in your power, you are going to put into this portfolio of brilliance. Now, you tell me the next time you fail or have a setback, if you do not implement these 3 steps, that your life has not significantly changed. Bada bing, bada bong, I don't know what to tell. I don't know.
That's beautiful. And I was thinking, I was following through the steps, and not very, but I'd say some of things were like fairly unorthodox. You know, things that I would not, I wouldn't have thought of, yeah. But you see, this is the thing. So then, how did you? How did you get, or like, were you always this kind of person? Were you always, because you sound very motivated. You find, again, like finding the perhaps what's the word, like finding the things that don't go your way as motivation, as fuel to move on. You know, that's not something which, to be honest, at times I don't have. I think I'm better at it, you know, in the last few years, but it's not something it's something that I've developed through time. So then that's why I'm curious. And then again, I know that maybe I'm in a different situation because of the, like, whatever, like my own life story, like my own personal journey, etc., that made me like this. And then I realized, I was maybe like, you know, I think I can only say 2 or 3 years ago, no, maybe 2 years ago, it's when I've actually started being this version of the person that I am today. And I'm striving for better, but I'm saying is, my change was 2 years ago, my biggest change. Then, like, when do you remember yours, or were you ever, since you were a child, I guess, were you like this? Were you so, you know, I guess, like, up for a fight, you know, up for a yeah.
Do you know what will make you determined? Fear. That's what will make you determined. And do you know what I am scared of? Is not living up to my potential. I have emblazoned on my forehead my dream, my mission, my vision, my goal, and the fear. I've got cold shivers talking to you about it. The fear of not getting there and letting myself down, letting my husband down, letting my son down, letting everyone I care about down is the most terrifying thing for me, that I wake up and I say, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to live today as the highest version of myself. So Simon Sinek, have you read Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why?
Yes. Years ago, but yes.
Yes. Okay. And basically he speaks about like having a why that is so strong that puts a firecracker up your tochus. That actually gets you. And my firecracker is not being the person, not reaching my potential, and how that would affect myself and my family, but how that would affect my son. I tell my son every single day, Shiloh, you were born for greatness. And how can I tell my son that if I don't believe it myself, And we all have days where we are shaky and we are not high vibing and we are not, but I do the work. I do the work. I put in the time to, I wake up at 5 o'clock. Which is insane because I've got a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old. I've got a toddler. Like, it's insane. Like, I need that sleep, but I need those 2 hours in the morning to prime, to step into the highest version of myself and say, this is me, love me, hate me. I don't care. I'm still going to voice my voice and voice my opinion and stand out and be who I am. And I'm going to show, most importantly, I'm going to show up fully as myself.
Interesting. That is very impressive, actually. How do you... Sorry, go on.
It's not... The truth is I actually don't think it's impressive.
Why?
I don't think it's impressive. And you know why, Levy? I am part of these. I've told you about these networks in the beginning, and I'm part of these networks, and I set up these networks. Do you know what I'm brilliant at? Do you know what my superpower is? Creating community, getting people on board with me. I mean, I don't want to say creating cults, but I mean, it would be... It's a great cult. You want to drink the Kool-Aid in my cult, And I love to surround myself with people who are so much better than me in so many different ways, because it just inspires me to be better at me. And I know that if I want to stand out in this sort of group, what do I need to do to be outstanding? Because good is not good enough. Even extraordinary is not good enough, because you can be an extraordinary, but if you're extraordinary and you're not outstanding, you're not getting noticed. You're not changing lives. You're not impacting.
Okay.
So one is, how do I surround myself with people who are outstanding, and then how do I get into those groups and how do I stand out?
But then my question is,
ask away.
How do you? Where is where's the line for you in the respect of, like, not beating yourself up, because I feel like some for example, again, I'm talking from personal experience now. I'm someone who, if I'm, say, looking forward to something, if I'm working towards something, I am working. But then when, say, bad things, no bad things, like, say, I don't get the gig that I wanted to. I don't, I don't get, I don't get what I was working towards, or like what I was working for. How do you, and I know that I've done my best. I know that I pushed hard. I know that I pushed for excellence. Where is the line in your, like, in your opinion, or like, what's your belief in respect to where is the line on, okay, am I doing enough in a healthy way, and, oh, I'm not doing enough, I hate myself, why can't I do better? You see what I'm going with this, like the unhealthy side of, not the unhealthy, let's say the more painful, or like the more the sadder version of, I'm not doing good, I'm not doing excellent work, I'm not doing this, I don't think I'm going to do it ever. Or like, I think it's kind of like, I reached my highest high, that's it. So then how do you basically balance that too?
So that's a great question, Levy. Do you know the Hebrew words, or do you know abracadabra? Literally translates to, as you speak it, the thing will show up. I mean, when I say literally translates, you know what I mean. You speak something into existence.
Right, I got it.
So I am so careful about what follows I am. What follows the word I am?
Oh, got it.
right? I am a creative genius. I am funny. I am brilliant. I am so careful with what I am abracadabraing, right? I am so careful the way I talk to myself, the negative self-talk, and switching off that negative self-talk, that I don't speak to myself negatively anymore. And it takes conscious thought. Oh, wait, I'm not feeling good enough here. Okay, I see what's going on. How am I going to reframe this? How am I going to put this in a way that I know that I am creating my future while I am talking? How do I talk about myself? How do I look at this to look in a way that I'm not being harsh on myself? And I trust in the universe and I trust in manifestation. So I say, right, I've put in the work. As long as I've done the work my side, as long as I've taken massive action despite or in spite of fear, I've taken massive action. The rest is up to the universe. If you are out there on stage every night, Levy, doing comedy that makes your heart sing, that is authentic to your voice, you will get the jobs. It will come to you. If you are taking the massive action and you are being 100% authentic to yourself, magic will happen. And I tell you that because magic has happened in my life. And have I gotten countless. I'm a comedic, mostly comedic, but I'm an actress as well. And the amount of roles you don't get far outweighs the amount of roles that you do get. And there's times that I may be disappointed, but who am I to judge whether a situation is good or bad? Who am I to judge whether not getting Trevor Noah was a bad thing? Because it turned out to be an absolute blessing. And if I had gotten that gig, I wouldn't have been able to write for a sketch comedy show that I did, and that sketch comedy show led to me being nominated for an award. Blah, 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 blah. You have no idea what is on the other side of that no. You have no idea what miracles are waiting for you, my friend. You go out there, you put in the work, you take massive action despite the fear. And let me tell you something, my friend, you will be winning. You will be winning.
That's really cool. I was gonna say your way of you even like, although again we're only using the sound, but like the way you're talking, everything, it's catchy. I'm
contagious, babe. I am contagious. You know, Levy, let me tell you something, and you know this. So a lot of the work that I do is I will teach, as I say, I will teach comedians, I will teach solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants, whatever, how to use comedy in their messaging. But also a big thing of what I do is I teach them how to cash in. So how do you as a comedian make money? Because 15 years ago, I was the comedian that couldn't have stability, that couldn't make money. And why do comedians get paid once you make it? I don't like the word make it. I don't agree with that. Can't believe I just said that. But why do comedians who, when they do perform, or when they do get those big breaks, or when they do television, get paid insane amounts of money? Because you're not paying for that 20 minutes that comedian is on stage. You're paying for the 20 years of performance, the 20 years of going into clubs and dying and failing and losing and suffering that comedian has gone through to get to this point that they can entertain you on television for 20 minutes for a gazillion pounds. So for me, it's not about a single event, but it is knowing your value, your worth, what you bring to this world from the last 20 years of experience that you have.
In this situation, now another question, because again, it's, and I wholeheartedly agree with you that it's you gotta, or like I work hard, I try to like put myself out there. I try to it's almost like one of those things where like I'd like to believe I have the work to show, but then I also have to make sure that as many people as possible see the work, because again, I'm very much aware that the amount of rejection that you get in life, I think in life, not just in this, in comedy or anything like this, in life is much higher than the yeses that you get. But to get the yeses, you have to go through the no's. Now, what I was going to ask you is, how do you perhaps, like, how do you personally, like, how do you look after yourself in the situations where, oh my God, I forgot where I was going with this. No, I got it. Yeah. So in those situations when you're like, look, you've got to be out there, you've got to do the work, but then how do you know, again, how do you know that how do you juggle the opportunity? How do you know what is worth doing and what is not worth doing? So how do you, again, like, how do you basically prevent protect yourself from getting, burned out? I think that's the saying, get burned out. How do you, like, perhaps do you have some sort of like a methodology where you're like, say, look, for example, I'm being offered like a free gig that's it's a progression gig, but this one is free, but it's in like the other side of United Kingdom. How do you know whether that opportunity is worth taking, or should I wait for something else that's perhaps again that's more realistic, that will lead up to what I want? How do I know, basically, because from all these options that I have, how do I know which one is the one that I should be taking next? And then, even now, the second question is, although I realize I'm asking a very long question, is what if I make the mistake of, I chose to do this over something else. I wish I did the other thing, because that actually looks like it would have paid out better.
Great question. And you know what I've learned to do, and what I now teach my students to do, is how to become master ninja decision makers. And you know what teaches you how to become a master ninja decision maker is, first of all, not fearing failure. Not fearing the failure. Okay? But what teaches you how to be that way is the clowning and the improv, and having to make decisions all the time, in real time, with huge consequences. When you get up on an improv comedy stage, there is an audience of paid people sitting in front of you, and they shout out one word, and you have to make an entire comedy show based off that one word. You better be able to make lightning quick decisions, go all in, say yes, and make sure that show, runs smoothly or is funny to the best of your ability. Right? So it's two things. It's three things. And I'm going to make a framework with this, because I'm the framework girl. I love making frameworks. So
it sounds like it.
I love it. Become really good at listening to your gut. If it's not a massive yes, then it's a no. If your gut says to you, if you get an opportunity and it doesn't scream to your soul, it's a no. Your time is precious, right? The reason why people stay broke is they exchange time for money. Whereas the world doesn't work like that. You don't have to, broke people say, I work for an hour and I get £12.50 for that hour. No, it's about the value that you are giving to the world, right? But that's another lesson for another day. Okay, so listen to your gut. If it's not a massive yes, it's a no. And put yourself in situations where you like doing improv, like doing comedy, where you are constantly having to make decisions with major, major outcomes. And let me tell you something, when you are performing to 1,000 people and they are not laughing, that is a major outcome. There is a lot on the line. When somebody has paid £20, £50, and they've put that trust and money in you, and you are standing on that stage and you are not making anybody laugh, wow, that is the pressure, right?
Yes.
So I would say my advice would be become so good at making major decisions all the time. And, like, how do you not stay in this, I don't know how you worded it, but how do you not stay in the failure or the fact that other opportunity is a missed opportunity? How do you not stay there? Is you got to be right. On to the next thing. The offer, this is what I teach to my students. The offer you don't make is the offer nobody can take. So if you aren't, and I don't care if it's in terms of doing comedy, I don't care what industry you're in, if you are not out there offering, failing, winning, offering, failing, winning. Here's my one-man show. I'm putting on a one-man show. Here's the tickets. Oh, big failure, big flop. What did you learn about that? Wrong venue. Advertising wasn't there. Didn't make money. Whatever it was. Okay, cool. Next one. Right. Instead of putting on a comedy show at a venue where I've got to pay for lights, we're doing a virtual comedy show. Big flop. Didn't work. So I want you to move out of that feeling of failure, the abracadabra, what you tell to yourself, as quickly as possible. And my 3-step framework of the 3-step failure framework to actually go, okay, cool, this is how I move out of failure thinking, because mindset is everything.
I see. That's again. I'm always. I'm looking at you when you're talking. I'm very. I'm so focused. Which I find quite interesting, and I like it a lot. I wish I did that. I had that sort of persona of like, hey, listen, I'm talking, because that's what this sounds like, and it's amazing, and I really like it. Anyway, that's a
question for you, Levy.
Yeah.
So I went to go watch Levy perform. Do you feel that you found your voice?
Do I feel like I found my voice? I don't know. I want to say yes and no. In some respects, yes. In some respects, no. But I feel like it's now, like right now, it's a more of a yes than a no. But it's, let's say, if it was like from 0 to 100, I'm on maybe like a 54% yes. So it's not wildly.
Okay, tell me what's holding you back from finding that voice.
Okay, I think this is the thing which I found is the difference between what I think I am and what people think I am, and how I feel like if I perhaps don't lean into what the people think of me on stage, I don't get the laughters that I want. Does that make sense? Did you get it?
No, I don't get it. But
yeah,
I do get what you're saying in that insecurity, because I feel like it was an insecurity that I had as well. Like coming to the comedy from the audience's point of view, instead of like showing up as the version of myself that I want to play. You know, when I coach people, and when I coach comedians in particular, and I mean other, you know, depends on actors, singers, whatever, but I came to watch Levy, and there were moments in Levy's set where I was like, this is so authentic. This is so bloody hilarious. And the truth is, you're playing a character. So lean into that character. Lean into that character. Now, if you say to me, is Levy playing an like over-the-top dramatic character, or like, you know, a really big clown where he's unrecognizable? No, he's playing a version of himself. And my feedback to Levy was, lean into that version like it is nobody else's business, because nobody can play Levy the way Levy plays Levy. So the question of finding your voice is, and this is why I love clowning so much and I love red nose so much, because for me it is the quickest way to get to my authenticity. It is the quickest way to get to my vulnerability, to put on that red nose and to go, this is what is lighting up my soul, because the red nose forces you to show up as the most vulnerable version of you. That little clown nose, which is the smallest mask in the world, right, is enough protection for the audience to say, let me laugh at you. But that is it. You are vulnerable. You are exposed. So clowning is the quickest way to say, this is what is funny and authentic and vulnerable and awkward and I'm terrified about. And this is how I'm going to share it with you. This is my real voice. So when I saw Levy's character, who is I want to put this in a way that it makes, I would say, like the failing immigrant, the immigrant who just can't get it right. He just can't live in London because he doesn't understand how anything is working. You have to go up on stage and show up as your clown. And your clown is the most authentic, beautiful, vulnerable version of you. He is the funniest Levy. And your clown, which I saw so clearly when you were performing, is the immigrant who just can't get it right. And no one else can do that like you can. And I said to Levy, I don't want to hear about any joke. I don't want him to write any joke on this planet that isn't related to him being the immigrant who is failing. And his whole one-man show needs to be around that character of the immigrant who is failing. So I understand you saying you haven't found your voice and that feeling, but for me, seeing it on stage and seeing your voice shine through, I'm just like, do what's working. Do more of that. Take that thing and like lean in, buddy, because you got it. It shouldn't have to be so hard. You know, it took me so long. I mean, I was doing stand-up comedy, making jokes about, I was making jokes about aliens. I was making jokes about my body. I was making jokes about politics. I mean, I was writing set-up punchline and going to comedy, writing stand-up classes, and I was terrible. I was not good enough. And I was suffering through the pain of not feeling good enough until I said, I am going all in on me. This is my funny. When you go to my Instagram page and you see the brands that I've worked with and the comedy that I do on Instagram, and that is my funny, baby. That is me. I'm not a stand-up comic who can talk about politics. And it took me years and years to be okay with that, to say this is not me and this is not who I am. Once I stopped trying to be like Dave Chappelle and started to be like Claudine Ullman, my career completely changed.
Which, this is one of the things I'm kind of grateful that I made peace with, where is, because I think this was one of my things when I started, where I thought that, I want to, because it's almost like, I don't know about your or like how the first dream of the first idea of becoming a comic came, but to me it became from seeing other comics, and being like, oh, like, look at like how cool, like George Carlin to me was like this, this is like an angry guy, but he's like such an amazing angry guy that I want to be that guy. I want to be like this. And then you have all these versions, or like all these comedians that, oh, that's what I want to be like. And not that long, to be honest, in comedy, I realized, oh, I can't be those people, um and that's something that I'm very grateful of, just being like, okay, I can only be myself. And now I think it's, again, but this is the thing what I was saying earlier, where I feel like, sometimes, and the way you said it makes, not only it makes a lot of sense, actually you made me think of another joke that I want to write after after this after the interview. But yeah, it just made me feel of like, oh, I get it, because like you said, I there are things I want to talk about, things I want to do, but I don't feel like the Levi the clown, or Levi the comedian is the right person to say it. Although my therapist does say that I shouldn't, my dissociative personality is not good. I actually feel like sometimes it's good.
I mean, I don't understand. Explain to me what a dissociative personality.
I think it's the idea of like, oh, because I always, actually, I do refer to it as, there is a Levi who does comedy. That's my comedy Levi. And then there is the Levi who, who says like is a mental health, advocate, and he wants to talk with people and like share his story about like living with BPD and etc. And then this is the Levi, and then there is another Levi who's very opinionated about even like politics, or about whatever history, etc. And then that's a Levi that can have the conversation with those people. But I feel like sometimes I can't go with my history Levi on stage. I can't go with my comedy Levi and when I see my therapist. I tried.
And she was not laughing.
Yeah.
Totally. Levi, how you show up for something is how you show up for everything. And what I mean by that is, this is why I prime myself. This is why before I come on a podcast, I'm in a great bloody mood. I'm excited. I have done what I've needed to do to get into the right space to speak from the highest version of Claudine. I'm the highest version of myself sitting here. I'm having a great time. We're chatting, we're living the dream, right? But I could have chosen to show up as a mom who didn't get much sleep last night and had to drop her toddler at school and then was running late for the podcast. And no! When the podcast starts. I arrive on time with plenty of time to spare. It is all about reframing. Life is so bloody short. And as I say, my biggest fear is not being and becoming the Claudine of my dreams, And if anyone needs motivation, let that be a motivator. Like, decide on what that vision and that mission and that dream and that goal is for you, and wake up every morning. I do a whole series on identity shifting because, I studied method acting at university. Like, a part of what you study is method acting. And I was like, wait, if I can use method acting techniques to prime myself to show up every day as if I was playing a character, my mind does not know the difference and will not know the difference if I am the character or I am the Claudine. So I am all about not to go against what your therapist says, but I am all about having a version of yourself where you can shift an identity. You can become her before you believe that it's even possible. If you want to tour the world, one of my clients is like he's a top writer for one of the biggest shows in America, biggest shows in New York, late night television. And he said the most amazing thing to me, which has stuck with me. When I first started stand-up, he said to me, Claudine, if you want to be a touring comic, go on tour. And that is so simple, but it's so true. Levy, if you want your name in lights and people coming to your show, give them a show. Put on a one-man show. Do the thing. Go out. Be, do, have. Be, do, have. Be, do, have. In that order, because people think that believing, you got to believe first before you... seeing is believing. Seeing is believing. Yes, people believe that seeing is believing. No. Believing is seeing.
Believing. Okay.
Not seeing is believing. You don't need to see the thing first to know that it's going to happen. You don't need to see the sun rising to know that the sun is going to rise, right? You need to have the belief, and then the thing will show up. It's the abracadabra. It's the abracadabra, So for me, it's really about how do I do the work on myself to become the best version of myself and be open. Be open to the opportunities, open to the miracles, open to whatever comes. But as long as I have the vision, I believe in the vision, I take massive action in spite of the fear. The rest is up to the universe. I've done the work, babe. Now you do your part. You do your part.
That is very powerful. I love it. And I by the way, sorry, something that I had to say is I was joking about the therapist thing. Okay. Don't worry, you're not going against a therapist. I feel like I wasn't necessarily as scared about for you, but I think especially for people listening, that therapy thing, it happened a long time ago for something different, but now we're good, and also that's. But again, this is the thing where I just feel like again, there are obviously. No, everything is black and white. So there are versions where you gotta, put put the best version of yourself at work, and then the best version of yourself. It sometimes I feel like with me it depends on the situation that I'm in, but this has been brilliant, honestly, and I'm actually I feel like after. I've done a lot of admin work before we started recording, and now I just feel like what, I haven't done enough.
Yeah, but point of me coming on this podcast, get to work.
but in a good way. I don't feel like no. I just feel like what, there are actually things that I could do that I haven't thought of. There are other things that I can put onto the list. So yeah, thank you. That's it's been such an amazing hour.
Thank you.
And,
thank you for having me.
Now the last question, I guess, is just the question of although you said it before, you mentioned the website, but let's do it all again. Let's make sure that this is the plugging moment of the podcast, where let us know what you're up to for the summer. Where do people find your work? How do people get in touch with you? Things like that, and also tell us about your podcast as well.
Okay, brilliant. So basically, you can get hold of me on all social media at Claudine Comedy. All social media, DM me, and I will send you a link to my tribe. Join the tribe, become part of the tribe. And my big thing that I am hosting this summer is I'm going to be hosting for 5 people only at the moment. We'll see if we open it up to more, but tiny challenges. So what that means is I'm going to be working one-on-one with 5 people to help them overcome major obstacles in their life and in their business, using comedy techniques, and how to grow a brand that allows you to think like a comedian and create like a visionary, how to show up, stand out, create adoring fans, and cash in. And all of that is on my social media platforms at Claudine Comedy or ClaudineUllman.com.
Perfect. That's super exciting.
Yeah, it is. So if you want to be one of the 5, DM me now. DM me now. But also, if you were touched, moved, inspired by anything that I said during this hour, please message me about joining the tribe. Because as I say, we're building a new tribe in a new town. And it's we gotta start somewhere. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this.
Yay! Thank you, Libby. Bye,
Perfect. Well,
everybody.
bye.
Stay hilarious.
So, was it good? Was it what you hoped for? Was it better? Was it worse? I think it was better. And I hope it was better. And I hope it was what you hoped for and a bit more. Because I had such a great time to take Claudine's time to do this episode and to listen to her and to chat with her. It was brilliant. And I think that's it from me for this week. Thank you for listening. Make sure you check out Claudine's socials. Check out my socials. If you enjoyed the episode, share it with your friends, your family, your enemies, anybody who you think that should listen to this. Thank you. And from me, Pickle and Sarma, it was actually still distracting me. Thanks for listening and stay skillful until next week. Bye. I will stay skillful in general until next week, as in that's when you'll hear from me again. But yeah, stay skillful. Bye.